Hello, my name is Laura Wogozogan, and I'll be your math instructor this semester. This is a brief video that's going to go over our course syllabus. And just to note, this is statistics. It was formerly called Math 110, and now it's called Stat C 1000. At the very top of your syllabus, you'll notice that my office hours here are listed. We have on-campus and Zoom office hours. This is an 8-week course, so it does move faster than a typical semester course. And so make sure you're aware of that it's going to be working twice as fast. The textbook is listed here, but I do want to point out that it is recommended. It is not required. But what you do need to have is going to be Canvas set up and ready to go. You need to have a scanner or a scanning app. I use what's called Adobe Scan, which is a free program, a free app that you can download. You need a graphing calculator or a graphing calculator app, and more information is given at the bottom of the syllabus or later on in the syllabus. And then you need to have your printed and or downloaded class notes to work with. I will also be leaving some outside of my office for you to pick up. And then our prerequisite is listed, and then there's the student learning outcomes and the course measurable objectives to read through on your own. Next page has homework listed. And so it's your responsibility to do the homework. Homework's assigned so you can get ready with the material before you take an exam or a quiz. And so homework will be assigned weekly. And it's either going to be online or it will be a written assignment, which is going to be on a worksheet. Some weeks are going to have one assignment and some are going to have two different assignments. So just be aware of that. You will have either one or two homework assignments per week. The online homework will use what's called My Open Math. It's embedded into Canvas, so you do not need to open anything else up. And all homework assignments are due by 11:59 p.m. on Fridays for each week. The written homework assignments are going to be where you write them down with either pencil or with maybe on a tablet, and then you're going to upload your work as a single PDF file. So the online homework through My Open Math, those problems can be attempted an infinite amount of times. And so reattempt each problem until you get it correct and you have better understanding of the material. And also it says on here, if you have any issues with My Open Math, the best thing to do is just to clear your cookies and clear your history. And that usually just resets whatever the issue is with your device and the program will work again. Sometimes it says that it is locked. It's not locked. Just clear your cookies and clear your history. So make sure to complete the homework assignments using the same methods as we talked about in our class and that are also used in our textbook and notes. It says if you're having any trouble with homework and you need to get help, talk to your classmates. You can visit the Marks or the ASAC, and that's discussed more below, or visit me during office hours to get help. Homework's going to count for 5% of your final grade. Next thing that we have on here is our lecture video and notes. So each chapter has at least one lecture video, and that has to be watched in its entirety. So while watching the lecture videos, make sure to fully complete by hand and not typed all chapter notes and examples. So it goes along with just like it is in class. So it'd be like as if I'm writing on the board, but it's writing showing up on your video, and you're just copying it down as you go. If you do have any questions, you can't raise your hand to ask because it's an online class. Just stop by office hours and we can go over it. And so you may complete the notes on a tablet or printed lecture notes or on lined paper. But if you are using lined paper, you do need to write down all the typed parts, so the entire notes completely. And then also you're going to be uploading these as a single PDF file and making sure that you do all the work by hand. So lecture videos need to be watched in their entirety and throughout, and with the Canvas link, and throughout the videos, there's going to be questions that you're going to be asked, so do the best that you can to answer those. The really important one is at the very end of the video, and it says, did you watch the entire lecture video? Make sure to select yes, and then make sure also to continue watching the video until it finally ends. And then that way it should automatically mark you down for your 5 points for watching that lecture video. So double check your gradebook to make sure that it gave you those points. And for this, each lecture video will count for 5 points, and then each notes are going to count for 15. So your completed videos need to be completely watched by Wednesdays. at 11:59 p.m. for credit, unless otherwise stated. And then your chapter notes need to be uploaded as a single PDF file by Thursdays at 11:59 p.m. for each week. Each completed chapter notes is worth 15 points and must be completed by hand in order to receive credit. These are going to count for 5% of your grade. And also you can rewatch the lecture videos there's a YouTube link that is in your very first folder in modules. It's called Course Orientation Start Here module. And so if you go on there, you'll notice that there is a YouTube link. And this is for video rewatch. So again, you have to go through the assignments in Canvas to get credit for them. The YouTube rewatch does not give you credit, but it does allow you to go back and rewatch those videos. Next thing that we have is discussions. So there's going to be one weekly discussion, and it's going to require you to post about this and then also to respond to at least one classmate. So many of the discussions require work and answers to be handwritten. So make sure you're aware of that. So making sure that you have time to do the handwriting part, and then also how to correctly insert your image, and that needs to be embedded for credit. And you'll see that in Canvas there is directions on how to do this correctly. So directions, grading, and expectations will be posted for each discussion topic. Make sure to not only complete your post, but also to respond to at least one classmate's post by the due date of Thursdays for each week at 11:59 p.m. for credit. Discussions count for 5% of your grade. Next thing that we have on here is quizzes. These are going to be broken up into chapter quizzes, and they're going to be assigned weekly. So these are timed, and you only get one attempt per problem. So it's just like the homework that's through My Open Math. However, these are going to be not where you have an infinite amount of time. So again, for quizzes, you have a specific time limit, and then you also only get one attempt per problem. So a good idea is to practice and to get ready for your quizzes before you actually take them. So quiz problems can be attempted only once, and this counts for 5% of your grades. Quizzes are going to open on Wednesdays at 8:30 a.m., but they're not due until Saturday at 11:59 p.m. So make sure you're aware of that. You can always complete things early if you do not want to work on the weekend, but they are open through Saturday. So failure to complete a quiz by the due date, and likewise all the other assignments, will result in a grade of a 0. The next thing that we have on here is projects. There's going to be 4 individual computer projects that are assigned during the semester. The projects' due dates are going to be listed on what's called our Stat C1000 course schedule, which is the very last page of our syllabus. And then you'll also notice it on our Canvas course too. Projects will need to be uploaded as a single PDF file, and details will show up on separate handouts. This is going to count for 25% of your grade. So this is going to be a computer-based project. It is typed. Your project will be typed. And we'll be using StatDisk, which is a free computer statistical program. The next thing that we have is our exams and our final exam. So our exams, there's going to be 3 exams given on the dates that are on our course schedule, which again is that last page, unless anything changes. Exams have 2 parts. They're going to have a part in My Open Math, which is just like homework and quizzes, and then a part that's going to be handwritten where you're going to upload as a single PDF file. Both parts have a given time limit, and exceeding the time limit will result in a grade of a 0 for that part. Exams must be submitted as a PDF file and not as a link. Links are editable, so it's not something that I can accept. So make sure that you convert it to a PDF file and not a link when you're uploading it. And then also exams must be submitted that way for credit, and all work on exams needs to be completed using the same methods, vocabulary, and approaches as discussed in our class notes and textbook. Additional information will be provided prior to the exams. Exams are going to count for 30% of your grade, and exams will be open for a 36-hour window. So from Wednesday at 8 a.m. until Thursday at 8 p.m. for the weeks that are listed on our course schedule, which again is that last page in our syllabus. In addition, each part of the exam will have a time limit, and exceeding that time limit will result in a 0 for that. The other thing to note is that academic dishonesty, so if you're caught cheating on one part of the exam, it will result in a 0 on both parts. So make sure to do your own work. Also for the final, this is going to be cumulative. It's going to go over chapters 1 through 12. The exact dates are listed here. It's open again for a 36-hour window, Tuesday, June 9th at 8 a.m. until Wednesday, June 10th at 8 p.m. So there's a 36-hour window set for exams and for the final, so then that way you can figure out when you can best fit in the exams into your schedule. So more information about the final will be given during week 15, which is going to be week 7 for us, week 15 for a normal 6-week class. And final exams are worth 20% of your course grade and cannot be made up and cannot be given early. So also to note is that if you are part of the Access program and you have any special test taking needs, make sure you get those accommodations to me as soon as possible. Right below this is a breakdown of grades. I do want to point out that in order to pass this class and receive college credit, you do need to have a C- or better. And for a C, you need to have a 69.5%. So you need to have that or higher in order to pass. Right below this, we have what's called the ASAC or the Mark Center also. And so with this is a free, there's in-person and online tutoring. The hours are listed here. They are open also on Saturdays, which is nice. And you do need to register for this, but it is a free program. Absence and drop policy. So a student can be dropped for excessive absences. Since our class meets asynchronously, one absence is going to count as not completely watching lecture videos, completing one discussion, or uploading your chapter notes. So make sure that you stay on top of the number of absences that you have. And it does say if you have more than 4 absences, you'll be automatically dropped from the course. In addition, you will be dropped if you fail to take an exam without talking to the instructor before the exam start time. So makeup lectures are not given. So you want to make sure that you get, you can watch those videos again. So if you miss something, you can always go back. And then the last day to drop with a W and without a W are listed here. Below this, we have Canvas resources. So any issues with Canvas, there's a number here to call. There's also a help button on Canvas when you're logged in. Instructor contact. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me or use Canvas inbox to get a hold of me. Expect a 24-hour time turnaround Monday through Thursday, and expect up to 48 hours Friday through Sunday. The Zoom meeting information for our office hours is given here. There's also a link on our homepage for Canvas. The big part here is going to be calculators. So you will need a graphing calculator. We do need this starting in chapter 3, so week 2 for us. And so it's going to be pretty soon. A graphing calculator runs usually at least $100. So the cheaper option is to download a graphing calculator app. So I put down a couple different ones. I use Graphing Calc 83 in the lecture videos that you can see, but there are other options of what you can download, and costs kind of vary depending on the device that you have. Student honesty is very important, especially for our online course. So academic dishonesty, you want to make sure that you're doing the work on your own without the aid of anybody else, without the aid of any AI or other websites. So make sure that you understand that. And this class is going to use an AI detection program on submitted materials. So make sure that you're not using anything that's going to be flagging you as using AI. And I want to remind you that you are to complete quizzes, projects, discussions, and exams on your own without the aid of any computer apps, web pages, programs, or AI. Exams and quizzes are also individual assessments. If academic dishonesty occurs on a quiz, project, or discussion, then the grade of a 0 will be earned for that assignment. If academic dishonesty occurs on an exam or final exam, then the grade of a 0 will be earned for both parts of the exam. So make sure that we're aware of this. It's very serious. And we have student conduct is pretty much be nice, be respectful to each other and myself. And then if you guys need to email me, Make sure you introduce yourself. You can say that you're in the late start class, since this is my only late start class this semester. If you're asking a question on My Open Math, the best thing to do is, because they're different for everybody, they might be the same problem but with different numbers, is to include a screenshot of that problem. That way I can easily help you. The other thing too is that it's best to ask one question per email, because if I get 10 questions in one email, it's difficult to make sure that I'm responding to them all. So again, one per email is the best. And then also listed here is access information. And if you're not part of that program, then definitely something that you can, there's a phone number on there to reach out to. Right below this though, on page 6, you'll notice that we actually have our course schedule that it's been referring to throughout the whole entire syllabus. This is spring 2026, and this is a late start class. Again, we're only 8 weeks long. So you'll notice that on here, there is 8 weeks listed. Week 1 is going to have lecture videos to watch, will be chapter 1 and 2. Homework assignments is homework 1, which is through My Open Math. You also have discussion 1, which is going to be post and respond to a classmate. You have a syllabus quiz that you are completing right now. And then you also have your quizzes for both chapter 1 and chapter 2. If you look at the next week, for week 2, it's very similar layout. The only difference is going to be that we have a computer project that is due on the 3rd of May. So make sure you're aware of this. And then you'll notice for week 3, very similar. The difference here is that we're going to have 2 homework assignments. And you'll notice that WS on homework 3 stands for worksheet. And so that's going to be a handwritten assignment. And then the other thing that's different with week 3 is that we have an exam, which again is open for that 36-hour window as listed in your syllabus. The other thing to note is that week 8 has some different due dates, just because that is our last week, and with grades being due, things need to be done a little bit earlier. And then you also have your final exam listed on here too. I did include some notes down at the bottom. So WS does stand for worksheet. A worksheet homework needs to be uploaded as a single PDF file. Again, not a link for credit. And then right below this, I kind of gave an outline of all these due dates. So lecture videos need to be completely watched by Wednesdays. Discussions and completed chapter notes are by Thursdays. Homework is due by Fridays. Quizzes are due by Saturdays, and projects are due by Sunday, except for project number 4 has a different due date. So make sure you're aware of that. So except project 4. And again, you need to upload as a single PDF file. The exams are open for a 36-hour window, which is going to be Wednesdays through Thursdays. And then your final is open from Tuesday to Wednesday. Again, due dates for the exams and for the final are at 8 p.m. So make sure that you note that. That's a little bit different than the other stuff that we have. So this is our syllabus. If you have any questions, please either email me or stop by office hours. And I look forward to a fast 8-week course with you guys, but that it's hopefully very successful.